façam o tal do triplo C. Curta, comenta e compartilhe. Você pode fazer essas 3 coisas que ajudam o algoritmo a aparecer. Mas eu não tô brincando não, pessoal. Dá uma paradinha agora de 1 segundo e clica no joinha. É importante que você faça isso. Porque se você não fizer, inclusive atrapalha o vídeo. Parece que o vídeo é menos relevante.
So we thought it'd be interesting to learn more about the descending darkness in Brazil from someone who has tried to cover it and now no longer can. Paulo Figueiredo was a very well-known, one of the best-known television journalists in the nation of Brazil. He now lives in South Florida. His Brazilian passport has been stripped from him. This is all since the election of Lula. And he joins us now in studio to explain how exactly that happened. Paulo, thanks so much for coming.
Well, it's an honor to be here. I don't know how it happened, so I can't give you details.
So just to be clear, you're fully Brazilian.
Yes, I was born in
Your
Brazil.
grandfather was president of Brazil.
Yes.
You're fully vested in the country.
Yeah.
You're not just like some guy who showed up in Brazil to cover things.
If I was in the U.S., I would say my family came in the Mayflower.
Yeah, exactly. Okay, exactly. So but now you're living in exile in the United States without a Brazilian passport. What is that?
Well, I didn't even know that was possible because until, I believe, 2020, the only people the Brazilian government seized the passport was an international drug dealer.
Yes.
People were looking for him and they had to seize his passport. But then I was working normally on a regular TV station in Brazil, like mainstream media, doing a conservative show on prime time. We had millions of people watching it. It was the most watched political show in the country. And on December 30th of 2022, I received a call from someone that worked on a big social media company saying, well, we received a court order from the Superior Federal Court, the Supreme Court of Brazil, saying that we have 2 hours to take down your social media platform. And I had 1.5 million followers there on that specific one. And then I was like, wow, I'm not going to say the name because I don't want to expose the person that informed me. And I was like, wow. So I went live streaming and I said, look, apparently I'm going to disappear. But later I found out because I got a call from a federal police officer saying, look, the order against you is broader. Apparently they ordered to freeze all your assets in the country. They also ordered that we gonna seize your passport and you can't get in the country. And I was like, wow.
What was the crime?
So I was never formally notified. So there's nothing anywhere that I committed any crime or that I'm being accused or charged of anything. But apparently they just decided that was best for the Brazilian people not to hear from me.
Well, that's totalitarian.
It is, but Brazil is now, Lula called it a relative democracy, but the fact is the things that are happening in Brazil only happen in dictatorship countries.
Well, that's just an incredible story.
But it was not only to me, I have to say that. So there's a colleague of mine. So 10 days later or 12 days later, after the January 8th happened in Brazil.
And just for context, I should say, so you said that you were stripped of your platform and told that you were having your passport taken.
But I was still on TV.
You were still on TV?
Yeah.
And that was like on the second to last day of Bolsonaro's presidency. I mean, he had been declared the loser in the election.
Right.
But nothing had even happened. Is that correct?
Nothing happened, and I stayed on air. But on January 8th, the revolt happened in Brazil, the protests, the demonstrations. And on January 9th, the Department of Justice opened an investigation against the TV station that I worked for. And when they did that, the owners panicked and they had to fire all the conservative commentators and only the conservative commentators from the station. And they used to be number one in terms of viewership. And of course, now they're not doing well because they lost. You know what happens with the.
I do.
Yeah. When they get rid of their stars, right? And that's what happened in Brazil. And then I was let go, and I opened new social media platform profiles that were shut down as well. And I've been opening new ones all the time. It's like my new YouTube channel already has 200,000 subscribers, and people, they block it, and then I open a new one and people resubscribe. This is
But you've never, just to be clear, you've never been charged with a crime?
Oh, no. I haven't even been called to depose or anything. I've never received any communication from the Brazilian government.
How can the U.S. State Department not say anything about this?
Well, because they sponsored it, right? The U.S. State Department sponsored what's happening in Brazil. So they're co-responsible. The United States is, let me put it bluntly, the United States is co-responsible to what's happening in Brazil right now.
It's such a shocking story.
It is, and it's not covered by the mainstream media in the United States at all because they're accomplices of what's happening. The New York Times, they pretend nothing is happening. They wrote a couple of pieces against Demorais, but very mild, and they're not reporting what's happening.
But if they take one of the most famous journalists in a huge country, I'm not sure Americans understand how big Brazil is. It's like the United States.
220 million people.
Yeah, 220 million with massive area and
as big as territorial the continental United States.
Exactly. So it's not an insignificant place. No. I mean, it's not Suriname. I don't understand how the new government can shut down a journalist because they don't like his opinions.
Not one.
Of his passport. And the U.S. State Department doesn't say anything.
Well, not one journalist. We have at least 3 journalists. Actually, there's the case of a podcaster. It was kind of like Joe Rogan in Brazil. This very liberal guy.
Yeah.
That was taken down as well, and he's living in the U.S. under asylum. And we have I would say we have dozens of Brazilians living on political asylum in the United States right now. It wasn't my case because I was already here, but many others, yes. You have Alan dos Santos, is unbelievable, his story. He was kind of like our Alex Jones in Brazil, more vocal.
Yes.
But still, he has the right of his opinions. I didn't agree with him all the time. And they shut down his channel. It was a big company by then, had a studio, everything. The federal police raided his house with his wife pregnant, pointing guns at him. It was a nightmare. And we're talking about a guy who was like a family man. And he has been living here in the United States. And there's an open arrest warrant. He was on Interpol Red Notice list right now.
For what?
For a crime of opinion. For the terms they use are misinformation and attacking the institutions. But when I say, well, attacking means criticizing, right? You're public officials. It's my duty as a journalist to criticize you.
You work for us.
Yes, yeah. You work for us. I don't work for you. So, but that's what happened to him. And there's Rodrigo Constantino. This was my colleague, same station, also lots of viewers. And
I mean, what American journalists, these defenders of press freedom, have said anything about this?
Except for Glenn Greenwald.
Yes, who lives there.
He lives there in Brazil. And except for him, he's on the left, you know him very well. He was always on your show. But he was the only one that spoke anything about it.
Do you worry about him?
Well, I think he should, and he should be worried. Although I think the government of Brazil would be more cautious meddling with a United States citizen. And
Glenn won't pull back.
I don't think so. I think he's he exposed the NSA and the CIA. Right?
Yeah.
So he's very brave.
And last question, how did you wind up in the United States? So this happened to you.
So I actually left Brazil when Dilma Rousseff, the lady that succeeded Lula on his first time, when she got reelected, and I'm out of here. My wife was pregnant. I didn't want to stay there and raise my kids in Brazil anymore because I knew what was going to happen. And then we were lucky because we had Jair Bolsonaro winning, and the country started going in a good direction. But we kind of knew the establishment wouldn't let that happen for a long time.
Well, you've wrecked my day. I appreciate your coming. Thank you. And I hope we see you again.
Me too.
Espera aí. Desculpe interromper esse vídeo, mas é que eu continuo censurado pelo STF. Além deles cancelarem o meu passaporte, congelarem todas as minhas contas bancárias e bloquearem as minhas redes, agora eles também querem proibir os meus vídeos no Brasil. Você pode continuar me acompanhando seguindo o meu segundo canal, que é o canal de cortes. E se quiser ter acesso a todas as minhas postagens para sempre, deve se inscrever no meu Locals, que funciona de uma forma parecida com o Facebook ou o Twitter. Todos os links estão aqui na descrição. Entra lá, senão você vai ficar desinformado e aí eles vão vencer. Façam o tal do triplo C. Curta, comenta e compartilhe. Você pode fazer essas 3 coisas que ajudam o algoritmo a aparecer. Mas eu não tô brincando não, pessoal. Dá uma paradinha agora de 1 segundo e clica no joinha. É importante que você faça isso. Porque se você não fizer, inclusive atrapalha o vídeo. Parece que o vídeo é menos relevante.